Hello, everyone. I almost said good morning, and that would go against every single thing that I have ever done in my life. I am staunchly an anti good morning person. Do not tell me good morning. Do not tell me what time of day it is. Just say hello. It's so much easier. So, hello, and welcome in to Northern Astrology's football and astrology, NFL and astrology. There's no formal name. Each week, we dive into the Kansas City Chiefs and what they are doing in the I guess, world of sports astrology, but most importantly, in the actual real world with their games each and every week. Usually it's on Sundays, but here we are on a Saturday. We are coming to you live during Sun Hour on Saturn's Day. And this is usually my day of doing absolutely nothing or getting caught up on work. And since I'm kind of off at the moment, I don't want to say that I'm on vacation, but my website's under construction. Not much I can do. So I am here just to launch new products while my website is still under construction. I like how I say like I can't really do much, but I have launched a magazine and it is the final issue for this 2024 year that we have experienced collectively. And I'll show it to you guys in case you haven't seen it yet. Here it is. Look at it. It's beautiful. I am a very proud person when it comes to the things that I create, when it comes to the things I own or the things that like happen to me. I'm like, yeah, whatever, that's life. But when it comes to the things that I've actually put time and energy in to create, and then one that's available for free as well, it's definitely exciting. So thank you so much for enjoying this process so far. I woke up one morning in March of 2024 and said, fuck it, I'm starting a magazine. And then I did. And then I continued that and I started bringing on some incredibly talented writers. These people are not only astrologers, but they're also very talented writers. Some are even published authors in their own right. And these people are also different. You know, these voices that I want to showcase are not going to be the same voices over and over again. Hiring all your friends to, write in a magazine is like living in an echo chamber. Yet, these people are not only friends, but they are incredibly brilliant authors in their own regard. So I'm excited for you guys to check it out. There are some new faces in this issue we have like a few different topics. You can see that the first one, if you look at the titles on the magazine. First one is Crisp Stillness. That is my publisher's note talking about what Capricorn season is all about, what, this time of year really brings into your life and how we can all learn from Capricorns in our life, right? Like as much as Sagittarius is that wise teacher, Capricorn, I feel like teaches us through life experience and hardships in certain ways. Hardships can come in all sizes and in all forms. It can be setbacks on your daily commute. It can be situations that are within your own household that you eventually have to overcome and find a way to get through. And that is part of what the Saturn ruled sign of Capricorn is known for. It's like this ever going, ever continuing climb that they are on. And yet, the sea goat, it's not just the goat. The sea goat is known for constant transformation. Like you want to talk about Scorpio being the sign of transformation because Pluto is in rulership there, of course. And, I agree. Absolutely, Pluto is transformational, yet there's nothing quite like a Capricorn fed up with themselves, right? Like, if you've ever met a Capricorn and you've ever encountered them being like, okay, I'm sick of this version of myself. I got to move on. Like, we got to change some things up. Then it's exactly very similar to Cancerian energy where they like to shed their outer shell. And Capricorn in their situation usually sheds their inner shell. And it's like this narrative of how do I jump back into the waters and start this all over again? How do I become the better version of myself? They're never soft, okay? And at least to the people that they don't want them to see being soft. And I mentioned that my best friend is a Capricorn Venus. The love of my life is a Capricorn moon. My youngest is a Capricorn Venus conjunct Pluto. My mother, who is absolutely insane, is a 29-degree Capricorn sun. And I love them all for so many different various reasons. And the fact that like I can have somebody that I share values with and share a life with that has such intense Capricorn energy, and yet I can help them kind of like be more joyful and see the playful side of things. Yet we kind of do that for each other. I think Capricorn is that ancient wise teacher, and yet at the same time they're begging for someone to just let them be irresponsible, because they need to be every once in a while, right? They need to have that break. So if you know a Capricorn and they've been working too hard, drag them out of the house, whether it's for a spa day, a movie night, or just go out drinking responsibly. Uber or Lyft, please. Or have a DD. That's something that someone has yet to really bring back. I feel like now everyone just Ubers. There's no real need for a DD, but I think it's great when people do that. There are lots of things that I talk about in this magazine, and it's not just all Capricorn related. We also talk about the astrology of 2025. In case you missed it, let me see if I can do this live, right? We're going to do another live editing thing where we have, oh yeah, no, there's no way because I don't have it even saved. So in case you guys missed it, there is an announcement on my Northern magazine, of course, and you can find that at northernastrology.com. My website is under construction, but yet the library of resources and past issues of the Northern are all still there for your enjoyment. So you can still check that out. You still have access to me even when I am in the middle of reconstructing and rebranding everything. Like, this is the last time the magazine is going to look like this. There's going to be a surprise for March 2025, which I can't even think about 3 months in advance, but yet last night at 12:22 a.m. when I finished this magazine, yes, I'm right back awake and looking this amazing, so you're welcome. I looked up and I was like, oh my God, the next one is just going to be so much better. And in the moment, my other half was like, excuse me, could you just be excited that you got done with your whole year of free quarterly magazines? It's something that I've been doing on my own. I had one time that I hired somebody to help me edit, and that was it. Just maybe one or two times. I can't remember, honestly. It's been such a blur. But very rarely do I have any help putting these together. I don't. It's just me, so I don't know why I'm saying very rarely. It doesn't happen. It's all on me. I am the editor, publisher, sometimes writer of the articles. Like, I write the Living with Nature articles, sometimes interviewer of others. Sometimes, I guess I just do it all. And I'm not surprised because I just do that naturally. Like, group projects, I'm going to get annoyed and take over the situation because I need that pace to keep up with like my mental. And when it comes to solo projects, I'm just like, all right, cool. I am going to get through this. I'm going to get all done, and I'm going to have it be as magical as possible. And then, I never have to deal with it again. That's kind of like what I do with projects. So this one I was actually really excited about because we're not only talking about the astrology of 2025, but I launched a book. And I still have a runny nose. It's fine. I launched a book with the incredible co-authors that I have listed over on the Bird app, aka Twitter. I guess there's a butterfly app now, so I can't keep referring to Twitter as the Bird app. I will have to eventually call it X or Twitter. I think Twitter. X just sounds so strange. The project is an entire visual walkthrough of the upcoming energies of 2025. It is a labor of intense love and energy and knowledge, ritualistic magic that is very simple. We strive to make this as accessible as possible, simply because I know that there's people that probably don't have, Florida water sitting around on their shelves, but probably have cinnamon because it's a spice. You should have it. And if you don't, there's salt or things like that we have included in some of the magic rituals. And Alessia of Life Through Spirit has been amazing with the moon rituals. And she has a very unique and strong relationship with the moon. And we talk about this in the Northern Magazine article, kind of doing a meet the astrologers behind the astrology of 2025. We're all very visual people. We have teamed up to make this incredibly visual project. It is like walking into a full surround sound of that transit. The Venus and Pisces worksheets are some of my favorite because it's just so Venus and Pisces and it's beautiful. The um, insights that each and every full moon and new moon has, there is a full Sabian symbol breakdown in each and every lunation. So it's incredible. Excuse me. I need to drink some water and not just mute myself while I'm talking. So, this is what the face of staying up all night and publishing things looks like. This is what it's going to look like as I get ready for our drop of the Astrology of 2025 on Amazon as well as our individual websites. So there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot going on in 2025. And honestly, I hate repeating myself. That's where this came from. I'm like, how can I not talk about 2025 all 2025? And the first way that I thought of doing that is naturally publish a book because I do have a publishing house, in case you missed that. So there's lots of levels to these projects. I am involved with all of them. I have a marketing brain that is quite significantly growing lately. Just like the more that I create and the more that I find the things that I'm super passionate about and the things like through astrology that speak to me have been popping in lately, and I've just been more and more inspired than ever. So who knows? Now that I figured out how to put a book on Amazon, I am unstoppable and I could write books about every little thing, including just books about vague characters of people that I can't stand. And then it'll be therapeutic, right? Like you could just use books to heal yourself in a way. If you have ninth house placements, this might sound familiar. The only thing I can tell you if you have third house or ninth house placements is the need to write and express and get it out of your head, get it out of your system, get it out of your nervous system. You're walking around with so much information, you need to express it. Yes, this is a live show, so you get to experience me when I take minute breaks. Today is going to be a fun one. Not only do we have the game today, but it's winter solstice. And if you don't know what that means, good news. I just spent the last 13 minutes talking about what that is and my magazine that will tell you more about what that is. Winter solstice is a time for rest. It's a time for relaxation. It's every time for reevaluating. It's almost like it is very much like a retrograde almost. I don't want to say the sun goes retrograde because that is not accurate whatsoever, and I am over the days of spreading misinformation just to make myself sound correct. The sun does slow down. That is the shortest day, longest night of the year. The sun appears to die in the sky, right? So, correct me if I'm wrong. You might have heard this story before. The sun slowly appears to stop in the sky, and after 3 days, it is reborn again. Anything sound familiar about, this time of year and that story and maybe a resurrection of the sun of sorts? I don't know. It's hard to place what that could be. So, winter solstice is symbolic more than anything else. Do I believe Jesus was a Capricorn? Absolutely fucking not. No way in hell. Have you met a Capricorn? You really think they're going to go around and like do all that for other people and sacrifice themselves at the end? No. Capricorns are busy going on to the next thing. And if he was a Capricorn, then, I have a lot of questions about, how I interpret things. I am fully submitted to the ideology of Jesus being a Pisces. In fact, I pulled up his birth chart the other day. Don't mind me. March 1st, 7 BC at 5:55 a.m. in Bethlehem, Israel. That is where I have enough of a starting point There are so many controversial birth charts of Jesus, but I think if we're going to talk about birthday of Jesus being a few days after the sun stops in the sky and is reborn conveniently right when Christmas happens, I think it's cool. I think that astrology is an amazing tool, an amazing way to see reflection in the world around you. And if you are in the hemisphere where it's currently winter, then that is a reflection of your surroundings as well. It's kind of hard to escape. If you go outside, you're reminded that it is winter. And only humans, we're the only mammals that don't take breaks and don't take seasons. Like the kids get summer off, right? And that's kind of how it should be for everyone. But us, this complicated predator species, is like, you know what would be really fun? Never taking a break, never working. And you know what would be even better? When the world is at its quietest, the days are at the shortest, and the darkness is at its longest. We should invent a holiday where everyone just rushes around and acts like crazy people. And they fight each other over material goods that no one will remember in 100 years, right? Like it's not going to be a quilt that you pass down from generation to generation that you're over in Target fighting over. It's going to be some stupid toy, some thing that keeps your brain occupied for, longer than 30 seconds, hopefully. But there's just a lot of pressure around the holidays that's unnecessary and debilitating for a lot of people. So my thing is fight seasonal depression with information, right? And if you are able to start living your life a little bit more with nature and the cycles of nature, I think that is absolutely phenomenal. Part of this magazine and part of what I was wanting to share with this issue of the Northern is talking about like how you can embrace the winter solstice. And I did not have this magazine last winter solstice, but I did have a winter solstice guidebook. You might have seen it on my website. And it was specifically tailored to help people understand where winter solstice happens in their birth chart each year. Because if you're brand new to astrology and you're somehow signed up to watch this incredibly complicated version of astrology known as sports astrology that I specialize in, you are courageous enough already. Most of the time when I start going into my sports astrology conversations, people are just like, oh, what did you just say? What are you talking about? Is this English? And I'm like, buckle up. It's gonna be a long one if that's the case. But I do try to explain things in general terms. So, there is that. But, I think that there's a beauty to being able to help explain explain the process and explain astrology to other people. And I hope that the winter solstice issue can help people find themselves a little bit more. Astro.com or astro-seek, SEEK.com are incredible sites to use to find your birth chart. Please stop using CoStar. CoStar is a disaster. They're thieves of joy as well as actual content. They've stolen my logo and everything else for, not my logo, my motto and my slogan on my website. They stole it and used it for their app. So, CoStar, get wrecked. The other one that I started with, I don't care if you use Cafe Astrology. It's just a lot more confusing. So there's always levels. Find where Capricorn is in your natal chart and go from there. And more and more that we see going through this season, we're going to be slowly awakening to spring in March 2025. And that is one powerful ass time frame, right? If you are going to be doing anything major or creating anything major in 2025 and you want to pick a bold and courageous time to start a business or launch a project, March 2025 offers some of the craziest astrology and also seismic shifts in our collective consciousness. So it would be a radical time to jump in there. I know that I'll be launching my full website and my new archive of YouTube videos to help all levels of astrology enthusiasts. So I'm going to be killing it. I've stayed killing it. This year, I got rid of a lot of baggage that held me back, a lot of people that wanted to ride my coattails and offer me zero respect or support in the long run. And it was something that I felt called to do, was just start this magazine, start up as many projects as I can, start having conversations with people who do value my time and respect my energy. And that has paid off more than anything. I think in the publisher's note of this magazine, I happened to mention that I found a lot of myself this year, of course, but there's more importantly the full Road Less Taken poem from Robert Frost in the publisher notes side, and it really speaks loudly. It's not easy to take different paths. It's not easy to break away and say, no, this isn't for me. It's not easy to stand up for yourself and say, hey, you don't get to talk to me like that. And I'm good now, no matter what the opportunity is. Things come at you that are presented in shiny form, and you are able to say, hey, wow, that could be something really great for X, Y, and Z. But when you see the strings attached and you see the people behind the offer trying to make you change who you are, my advice is run. That's all you can do. And be as freely you, as authentically you. You don't need to change for anyone unless, you feel as though you've hit a rut where you're like, I need to change who I am and how I see myself before I work with anyone else or before I start any projects. It's a great time to do that too. So the introspection is loud with the winter solstice. The new beginnings will be even louder with the spring equinox in 2025. So I wanted to have something that prepared everybody for as much of that as possible. I think 2025 is going to be truly actually feeling like a new year on January 1st. I've talked about this a lot online, and I've said plenty of things on my social media accounts about how the nodes, which are very pivotal, they are the marking point of the eclipses as well. The nodes are shifting into Virgo and Pisces. The nodes are currently in Aries and Libra. I should have said that Libra and Aries since I said Virgo and Pisces backwards. The North Node is currently in Aries. The South Node is currently in Libra. The North Node will shift into Pisces and then shift into Virgo. The South Node will shift into Virgo. Yeah, I had very little sleep this week and have published so many things that it's just a miracle that I'm sitting here, because I will be taking time off after this show, right? Like, I'm still going to do my predictions. You'll see the text form online. You can share that. But on camera, you're not going to see me until after the first of the year. I have a lot of projects coming up and a lot of things to, I guess, organize before all that happens. And one of them is the Astrology of 2025 book that I'm so excited about. So once again, just wrapping up the winter solstice issue, I said I was going to get into the game, but I lied to you, and I apologize about that. If it's about this and it's just a little like I actually lied to myself and not really to you guys, I was like, yeah, I'm done talking. No, I'm not. This is the magazine that I've been like really looking forward to wrapping up the year. The introduction to Nordic runes is done masterfully by Nova Luna over on Twitter, and I believe Blue Sky as well. The aspect cycle and the hero's journey is done by Robin, aka Astral Hermit, over on the socials. And it is a unique look at the aspects and the moon cycles and the hero's journey and how it combines all of that, plus some incredible lore. If you like mythology and you want to know how all of this can kind of play out and how it can be personal to your own journey and the themes as well, definitely check it out. The Living with Nature Capricorn energy is just where Capricorn happens by the houses. So it goes first to the 12th house. So you can check out what those are. You can check out what the hell I'm even talking about when I refer to houses by downloading my Astrology 101 book. Depending on when you get to my website, I do have a revamped version of it. So if the last one looked a little too staunch and serious, this one is looking magical AF, and I'm super grateful for my guru when it comes to creative everything. She's a creative consultant and a brand director and somebody that can really boost your look and your appearance of your professional sites, as well as like whatever personal sites you may have too. And if you need a recommendation, I would gladly recommend her to you. So my DMs are open. If you need someone to help with your website, I would love to share her, but she's busy doing things with me. So we are on to the game. Today we have the Texans at the Chiefs at noon in Kansas City, Missouri. That's it. That's all you got. That's my analysis. Now, while my brain may be absolutely exhausted, I could talk for days about astrology, so this is not going to be anything too much out of my realm. So today's rising sign of the game is Pisces, and that is at 23 degrees Pisces, which happens to be my north node. So what's up, Pisces? I love Pisces energy. My biggest thing about Pisces games is watching the emotions. I love to see it, but the victimization or maybe flopping that could happen with this one could be interesting on either side. We'll see how it goes. The refs have been all over the place, not only in our games for the Chiefs, but just in general over the NFL. So I think people are very mad. Looking at the Jupiter ruled chart, since it is a Pisces rising and Pisces ruled by Jupiter, we go to the third house where we see Jupiter station retrograde at 14 degrees Gemini, which is squaring Saturn. This is a transit that we have all been feeling very much collectively. If your joy seems to be overthinking and constantly reevaluating itself, or intellectualizing your emotions, or feeling the need to plan tiny little steps accordingly multiple times ahead of yourself, that could be Jupiter and Gemini. Jupiter does not like being in Gemini. Jupiter is also stationed retrograde. So things that could have been, like if you're getting really irritated and it's stuff from the past or things that you've told people in the past that are going to irritate you, maybe it just feels like extra right now. But a Jupiter ruled chart with Jupiter retrograde in Gemini into the third house, which is traditionally ruled by Gemini, we are seeing an intercepted first house, an intercepted seventh house, making that, even though it's a Pisces rising, it is past the first house not being ruled by Aries. It is all, and the 12th house, obviously, not being ruled by Pisces. All of this chart is with the signs in their natural place. So it's kind of cool to see that. It helps learn. If you're an Aries rising, just know that you are highly favored when it comes to the astrology world gods, because they are like, hey, not only do you not have to learn a different chart, yours is just naturally along the lines of the actual wheels and the actual house system. So congrats. All right. So Jupiter in the third house is going to be all about communication, and especially with Jupiter station retrograde, we see Mercury loosely opposite Jupiter retrograde, and Mercury is no longer retrograde. Thank God. My brain was not working. I started the Astrology of 2025 book. We started taking it to the next level. We've been doing all the writing. We've been doing all the planning. We've been doing all the structuring. We've been having meetings about how we want to promote and doing all the groundwork, right? And that was through Mercury retrograde. And it's like, am I crazy? I am an astrologer. Why am I putting my Pisces and Mercury through trying to work through a Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius? It was nuts. But the moment Mercury stationed direct, I wrote and I wrote and I wrote. And we went from having 15 pages of just skeletal structure in a book to having over 260 pages, and I'm not even fully finished. So there is so much to be said about the power of Mercury. So I am wondering today if this little mutable grand cross with the Mercury in the ninth house, the moon in Virgo in the sixth house, Jupiter retrograde in the third house, and Saturn in Pisces in the 12th house is going to be a breaking point for let's get out of this rut that we've been in energetically wise. It could be for the Texans and the Chiefs, could be for the Chiefs and the Texans just become the byproduct of their need to pummel someone into the ground, mostly because the Chiefs have been, until last week, getting by with one-score games. So, with that being said, I wanted to point out that with the pace of the game being ruled by Taurus and Uranus back in that second house, we are going to have the back and forth, ups and downs. And in my opinion, since the second house rules the pace of the game and kind of like the intrinsical structure of the plays, the play calling, the time-ish keeping. Like, I don't want to say that the timekeeping part is found in the second house because I don't really know if that's the case. The pace is the timekeeping. So it's just like the energy exertion and the vocalization of how things are going in the game. I feel like that second house really covers. But going back to the first house, because even though it's intercepted, I also have Aries intercepted, but it's in my 10th house. So that's always fun to see. Learning how that shows up in a sports chart, though, is kind of where I'm at still. So we're looking at the first house, which we see Neptune, the North Node, and Chiron in there. Neptune is in Pisces, and the North Node is at 2 degrees Aries, while Chiron is at 19 degrees Aries. It's that little key there in the first house. If you are not sure where the rising sign is and where I'm starting, it is always at the 9 o'clock position when you're looking at a chart. So where 9 o'clock would be on a clock, that is the rising. And it's kind of easy to learn that way. So hopefully that makes sense. Whatever. We're going to keep going through it. The fourth house is where the home team is found, right? And that being ruled by Mercury today. I really do feel like the Chiefs are going to be running their hearts out, and that could be, reflected through their scrambling because the game's going back and forth, or because they are just trying to prove that they can get ahead and sustain a lead and not keep, giving people heart attacks while they're watching the Chiefs games. Going into the fifth house, which is ruled by the moon being in Virgo in the sixth house, it's all about physical health, wellness, that gut and brain balance and connection. So I hope everybody ate their Wheaties or took their probiotics or had a substantial breakfast and are feeding themselves strongly for today's game. If not, they could be hangry. Like, I don't know if anyone on the Chiefs has adopted the Marshawn Lynch method of energy preservation through candy, but definitely something along those lines, whether it could be fresh fruit or, I don't want to say orange slices, but there could definitely be some sort of eating going on the sideline today for the Chiefs or the Texans. Going into the sixth house ruled by the sun, I kind of skipped over the fact that there's Mercury retrograde in the fifth house, probably because Mercury retrograde has been personally attacking my fixed sign early placements. And I'm like, hey, thank you so much. This is great. It's been a ride, and I don't think I need to explain that to anyone. The levels of anger and the levels of collective, not battling, because I feel like we're not in the age of fighting over Christmas gifts yet, but just like internal pride battles going back home for the holidays while Mercury is retrograde in Leo is going to be like, ooh, I hope you like your dad because he's about to probably trigger you. I hope you enjoy the heartfelt emotional inquisition that could be coming from your mom. Just finding out matters of the heart if you are not in a relationship but everybody wants you to be. That's another annoying part of the holidays. Or if you are in a relationship and you're serious but you don't get engaged like every other person around this time, you could feel like, your heart's a little bit broken, but stand tall. You've got this. Having a moon-ruled fifth house, getting back to the game and not giving out life advice, having a moon-ruled fifth house means that your forms of creativity as well as your inspiration for creativity is always changing and shifting. So having the moon rule over that fifth house of creativity, lovers, gambling in this situation, as well as refs, I feel as though physicality is going to be super important to creativity. If you're out of shape, you can't be creative in sports. It's hard to do if you can't trust your body to get you to those higher highs and more intense physical peaks. You have to have faith in your body and control over your energy, right? And so maybe that fifth house Mars is like, don't burn yourself out trying to make creative plays if you don't have the talent and skills to actually carry it off. The Chiefs definitely have a talented quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, yet his health has been on the fritz, seeming how he gets pummeled every other snap. I'm not going to get started. Our O-line is doing their best, I hope, and that's all I will say. I hope that the Chiefs stop letting Patrick get ransacked by every other team. The longevity of that is not great. So you want him around for a long time, you got to protect him for a long time. So hopefully today's game, even though his Saturn is directly opposite of the moon in Virgo today, and his natal sun is close to that vertex, it'll be right on the descendant for today's game. The sixth house being ruled by the sun, and the sun at 0 degrees Capricorn. Bone health and skin and knees and joints is going to be key to the game today, which is, crucial for really anything when you're doing athletics, but especially with the sun ruling over that sixth house and the sun in the 10th house. So the publicness of this all is going to be quite loud. The displays of emotion, the displays of putting everything on one's back and carrying it on for the team, that's very Capricorn energy. So the physicality could easily range from being the one that carries it all on their back to devising a plan to do that. Lots of things possible, but more importantly, there's just like a lot of openness, and the 0 degree of Capricorn is the 30th degree of Sagittarius, which is a Pope blessing the faithful. So it's like you have faith in yourself, you will be blessed. That's how I like to look at it, at least. So definitely fun energy. Looking at the sun, or excuse me, not the sun, the sun ruled sixth house, we see the moon in there. So emotions could be basically tied to physical, comfort, pain. People could only get angry if they get hurt, or they get pissed off even more than they get hurt. It's not so much a sadness as it is a slow anger. If you've ever seen a Virgo angry, it's not exactly what you would call a quiet rage. Well, maybe that's because my Virgo that I've been surrounded by has been so insanely Scorpio and Aries driven too. So maybe that's not the best example, but Virgo rage, loud, venting, ranting, that type of stuff. Gemini will talk shit. Virgo will go on for hours if you actually get them to talk to you. Like Virgos will stay quiet and keep to themselves and bottle it all up inside. But when they actually let it all out, boy, do you want to be in another room. The 23 degree of Virgo. The 23rd degree of Virgo is where that descendant is, and the 27th was where I was looking. So I was like, wait a second, what am I saying? The 27th degree of Virgo is where the vertex is today, as well as right next to the South Node in Libra, which has been helping everyone with Libra placements feel uncomfortable for the last 18 months. And we are slowly getting out of that cycle. So we'll see a lot more of the pressure and discomfort going from Patrick Mahomes' Mercury and Chiron going into his Virgo sun area. So that'll definitely be interesting to watch. I believe that Patrick Mahomes is going to be doing better after January, and it'll be kind of like a comfortable place for him to be in January. So I'm not too worried about December. That's probably why I'm taking the rest of it off. I can do that. I run the show here. It's so nice to be able to say that. But I'm able to take off the end of December, and it's not because of football. It's my children. It's my family. It's me wanting to be at home. I'm such a homebody, and I love just being able to relax, close my doors, not talk to anybody, relax and just do whatever I want. It's a magical time when I don't have to drive people around on their school schedules. Also, if you've been wondering what my shirt says, I kind of failed to mention this one. Shout out to Dave Parker, recent MLB Hall of Fame uh, entrant. Entrant? Yes. Dave Parker wore this shirt way back in the day. If you hear any noise, it's just me and the boys bopping with a big floppy sun hat. And it's like one of the most iconic photos of that time and in baseball. And I love it. Almost as iconic as Doc Ellis and his acid game. But that's another story. The things that I appreciate about athletes usually have nothing to do with their athletic performance and has everything to do with their style, their off-field demeanor, and interactions with them. And while I've never met Dave Parker, I feel like this is a long overdue kind of thing. So back to the game, because that's what I was talking about. The South Node, like I said, has been causing a lot of bleh in the world for Libras and people with early sign or early degree cardinal placements. So yeah, that's what I was getting to. Further into the 7th house, we see Lilith and Vesta at the tail end opposite Chiron. While I am not really sure how that shows up for the game today, that energy can feel very much like not being able to feel at home within your body or within the space around you because your mental is kind of like processing a lot or going through it or replaying a lot. So don't get stuck in replaying things of your past right now. I don't know if that really applies to today's game, but it definitely applies to the collective. So if you're beating yourself up over past mistakes, especially that you've made in relationships or with other people, please stop. If it's happening right now and you're dissociating from watching the show, I will do my best with my voice to bring you back to reality. The 8th house is ruled by Mars, which Mars being retrograde in the 5th house in Leo is making things extra spicy. That Mars is actually squaring the 8th house, the very beginning of the 8th house at that 6 degrees of Scorpio. That is also the degree of Patrick Mahomes' Mars. So the 8th house will be full of spiciness for him today. Could have some pretty angry outbursts. You never know. Going into the 9th house, which is the travel team, seeing Mercury there in Sagittarius conjunct the part of fortune. I do believe the travel team has some quick bursts and some long runs, some big movements, and definitely has the ability to perform well here today. So it's not completely lost for the Texans if you're a Texans fan watching this. But Mars being trine that Mercury station direct, but Mars station retrograde, and making a grand fire trine with the North Node in Aries could feel a little bit like rocket boosters going off. This could be a game where people finally start scoring a ton of points and we start seeing some back and forth. Going into the Jupiter ruled 10th house, we do see Jupiter in that 3rd house in Gemini, station retrograde. And a Jupiter ruled 10th house means there could be some blind spots, blind faith, blind luck, blind a lot of things, because Jupiter, wherever it shows up, kind of like is so big and so abundant, it kind of clouds the actual vision ahead. It'd be like, yeah, you're really excited because you have this big get, like it'd be okay. Jupiter's energy is like driving a car with too many balloons in it, and it's like you can see but you can't really see around you. You know that it like looks cool and it's beautiful and it's very like interesting and it feels like very aesthetically pleasing, but you can't fucking see the road ahead of you. So it can definitely feel like you're just blindly going into the abyss sometimes. And that's where Jupiter is taken for like, oh, you see Jupiter there, you're gonna have so much money. And it's like, have you met a Jupiter in the 1st house person? Like, are you kidding me? It's like the illusions of what money is, and money and wealth mean different things to everyone. So I feel as though if you're constantly referring to Jupiter as wealth and looking at it like that, you're going to have to define what wealth actually means to you to start seeing patterns of that effect. So just throwing that out there. The 10th house being where the sun and Pallas Athena are residing for today. The sun being at 0 degrees Capricorn means that it's winter solstice, baby. That's what it's all about. 0 degrees Capricorn is where the winter solstice happens every year. This could be felt like the Chiefs need a freaking break. I almost said the Chiefs need a breast. No, that is not the case. They might need that too. Who fucking knows? When it's Capricorn season and Cancer rules over the chest and stomach, you could need a breast. Maybe that's the case. Chiefs need a break, and the relaxation is not coming for them. They have to play on Christmas Day as well. The NFL was like, yeah, we saw you wanting to make a three-peat. How about we just drive you into the ground instead? We'll give you an easier schedule in the second half, but guess what you get to do? Play back to back to back to back. Oh, did you want to spend time with your family? That's too damn bad. I look forward to the day that the NFLPA decides, like, fuck these people. We are not going to be playing on holidays. We're going to make this like our time. And people who think that NFL players should just play through all the holidays and just deal with it because they get paid to, no, leave them alone. I for one think that people should be able to rest. But what would we do on Christmas to avoid our families if we didn't have football? So think about it that way, America. The 11th house is where we see Pluto and Ceres. I believe ankles and calves and the circulatory system in general are going to be very loudly on watch today, just because with Pluto opposite Mars retrograde, as well as Ceres in Aquarius directly opposite Mars retrograde, I feel as though the nurturing or lack of nurture will be loud today if you have not been taking care of yourself. You know, the circulatory system, it's cold here. I was going to say, I don't know how cold. It's like today it's only going to be 37 degrees. So that's at like closer to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's going to be cold. It's going to be chilly. And I know that everyone plays in football weather and everyone prepares for this stuff, but it does make a difference when you're out there taking a beating and you're also freezing. It does make a difference. So staying warm, staying warmed up so you don't have to get warmed up. There could be a situation today with Venus in that 12th house where somebody doesn't get warmed up enough and it ends up, biting them in the ass. So without further ado, we are going to go into the Texans in game chart just because I could talk all day long about what could happen in the game. I got to get past the first one and get to what the away team will be doing. So when we go to the next chart, it is the Texans announcement chart, the day that they were founded. According to their Wikipedia page, moving forward into 2025, I will be doing more with my process, right? Not doing more because it's wrong or it's not working, just doing more because it is getting finely tuned, right? I started doing sports astrology as kind of a thing that I'm like, hey, I don't know if this will work. We'll just see. There's not much written about it. There's not much that people cover about it. Like the one book that I tried to read was like, use horary astrology to predict games. And I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense to me. So because my brain does not work in horary astrology, I developed my own method. So there's plenty to be said about developing your own method, believing in your own, whatever it is that you do. I am such a strong advocate of people using what already works for them in their astrology practice or in their astrology enthusiast hobby and take that and apply it to sports astrology. Like there's no wrong way of doing astrology unless you're manipulating others. That's not where we do astrology. If you're spreading fear and trying to manipulate others, you're doing it wrong. My favorite thing is when people try to control others by telling them their placements are terrible, but don't worry, I see the light in you. It's like, oh my God, stop. Anyways, not going into rants about ethics and astrology because that'll take me away from this completely. The Texans have a pretty solid start to their chart, right? We got Jupiter retrograde in the first house, so I feel as though the physicality of the game with their Jupiter retrograde and Saturn retrograde in the first and second house could be beneficial. They could easily control the pace of the game or try to, at least in the first part. That also does take some time. So Jupiter retrograde and Saturn retrograde could very easily show up as them not getting their shit together until the second half. And that's what teams like to do to us. They like to scare the Chiefs into being like, are you sure you're good? Are you sure that you're able to do this? Yeah, so we'll see. There is the strong little sandwich there of Saturn in the 12th house and then Neptune right there on the ascendant. And whenever Neptune is on the ascendant, it is never as it appears, right? Like people, anything. Like I have Neptune on my descendant, so people that meet me meet a different version of me every single time. That's also because I'm a Cancer rising. Like, let's be real. I'm never going to be the same person from day to day. People talk about how Cancer suns like are very emotional. It's like, have you met a Cancer rising? Our chart ruler is the moon, and depending on where that moon is how our day goes. And my moon is luckily in the 11th house. For the longest time, I thought I had a 12th house moon, and it's not like it's a bad thing to have a 12th house moon. That means you're a lot more connected to psychic realms and you're a lot more predisposed to needing a ton of time to recover and recoup your energy after being around people for a while. So I was like, yeah, that definitely hits, but I think that's just mostly because people aren't really my thing. At the moment, I am like very much in my bubble, very much at home, but like I used to work around so many people every day and talk to so many people and go to so many events and do all the things. And I'm enjoying kind of this chill, but yet not chill at all because I'm like doing a ton behind closed doors lifestyle that I'm in right now. So very interesting, but it's not the point. We're not talking about me here. But knowing where the moon is when you are ruled by the moon is very important. So that's all I'll say. But Neptune in the first house, as well as exactly on that ascendant, is going to feel pretty cloudy, we don't know who these people are. That could be for both sides of this game. You know, the Texans could be like, yeah, we know the Chiefs, but we might not fully understand their powers. And same thing with the Chiefs. Like they could very easily think they understand the game ahead of them, but with the Neptune opposite the vertex of the game too, just a lot going on. So Texans having that Jupiter retrograde in Taurus. Normally Jupiter in Taurus is like, hell yeah, this is lucky, this is bountiful, and it absolutely still is. It just is going to take a little bit longer for the Texans. So if they end up becoming a powerhouse in like 2030 or so, I wouldn't be surprised. Looking into the third house, we don't see much there for the Texans because there's not anything there that I can see. We don't have all the asteroids pulled up or all the placements in the sky, but the major ones, nothing there. Fourth house, which is the home team and is ruled by Mercury, nothing there for the game or for the Texans. Then we get to the fifth house, which is where we see Pallas as well as the North Node for the Texans being visited by Mars retrograde. Hopefully you guys have not been too personally victimized by Mars retrograde. It's been fun, I feel like. But that's because I think that like when Mars is direct, my Mars ruled sun will just keep going. And like Mars retrograde, I've really been able to slow myself down and be like, oh, I can rest and be productive. What a concept. The fifth house for the Texans does look pretty promising with that Pallas Athena being in there. That helps with insight, downloads, knowledge, psychic knowledge, intuition. And then the North Node and Leo, of course, is the solar ruled North Node. It's very much about the heart wanting what it wants. Its life purpose is to feel joy at all cost, and that childlike joy. That could be somebody that works with children, somebody that like feels recharged with children, or someone that protects children, someone that does childlike things, or something that somebody would consider childish for a job. This is also like child psychologists kind of like energy too. Also performers. These people are natural entertainers. So people that naturally shine, or people that have to learn to shine after their Saturn return, because not every Leo placement means that you're going to want to be in the spotlight. I know plenty of Leos that are like, please leave me alone. Do not put me in the spotlight. I will shine in my own right, in my own way. The sixth house is where we see Venus, Ceres, and the moon for the Texans. So they are going through their solar return based on their foundation date via Wikipedia. Like I said, the first home game by the team in their current home stadium is where I'm going to start doing the charts for next year. Or next football season, excuse me. It'll be next year soon, and I'm not going to be prepared to redo all that. So Venus being at the come save me degree, 29 degrees Leo, is like this mermaid sitting on a cliff waiting for her Prince Charming or White Knight to come along and save her. It's very like Little Mermaid when she's waiting for Eric to show up, Prince Eric. So yeah, that's a very strong degree to kind of be like damsel in distress energy. So very interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Mars stations direct and eventually conjoins that Venus, and see if that is something that helps the Texans, or if they get like some sort of boost, or someone does come in, save them. Who knows? The moon and the lunar return in the sixth house, once again, physical health, physical wellness, mental soundness is going to be huge for the Texans today. I know I talk about the stomach and the health and the gut and like the digestive system when I'm talking about Virgo, but I also mean to talk about like, hey, there is definitely a soundness issue when it comes to mental. Although the sixth house is ruled by the sun, it's not going to be complete without that Mercury ruled seventh house, where you find the vertex, south node, and Lilith and Vesta for today. So they're not only are the Texans going through a lunar return, they are also going through a Vesta return. So that's interesting. They have a Libra sun at 12 degrees in that seventh house, making this seem pretty personal of a game. I do feel like seventh house placements mean that they stay in it a little bit more, that they're actually in the game. It's not like a checked out game or a one-sided game. Mercury in Scorpio is currently squaring Mars retrograde, so that should be an interesting one for them. Maybe they have little short bursts of anger, or supercharged power that comes from a place that we can't even explain. It's like that innate primal instinct of surging forward and making some big plays, because I do feel as though the Texans do show up today at least. Going into the eighth house, which is ruled by Mars, you see Chiron there for Texans. So maybe they are learning how to navigate that anger they could feel, or frustration they could feel. The eighth house I do like to look at as Vegas odds as well. So those things could be like, maybe they're just not hitting the prop bets like they could, or maybe their game is just a little bit off today, or maybe they don't cover the spread, or I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? I could just keep throwing all these betting keywords out and see what sticks, but we'll keep it moving into the ninth house. The ninth house is the travel team, in my opinion. So that is where we see the Jupiter ruled ninth house and all of the Texans, Lilith, Pluto, Juno, and Mars energy. Definitely important that their Mars is at 22 degrees Sagittarius. That is the foreigner degree and the degree of foreign travel. So if anyone should be sold to Europe, it's the Texans. Can you imagine if the NFL was like, yeah, we're going to move the Houston Texans over to London. They're going to be the new London Texans. I would love that. I would love to see a hillbilly surge happen in London. I just don't think that that's something that has happened before. So let's do it. Let's get them all dressed like cowboys and, American pioneers of sorts. It's one way of unintentional, I guess, terrorism of sorts, is turn London into Texans fans. But sorry, Houston, I didn't mean to just take away your team like that. But The 22-degree Mars in the ninth house. I'm like, they need to travel. They need to get out. They need to be free. They need to go to Europe. Their Mars being conjunct the MC today of today's game. The MC is the highest point in an astrology chart and kicks off the 10th house of every chart. So look to find your MC to see how the public receives you, or how the public sees you. I love my MC. It changed when I found my new birth time, and it's one of my favorite degrees of the zodiac. So I feel pretty blessed. The sun today in the 10th house, there's nothing there for the Texans until we get to the 11th house. So 10th and 4th house being empty, we can kind of skip over that. I mean, their 10th house stuff does kind of square, Neptune squares the MC. So that's like Neptune is kind of squaring the whole 10th house there. But yeah, I think that today's Saturn squaring Pluto and Juno and Mercury for today's game and the Texans will be interesting enough. So anyways, moving into the 11th house for the Texans, we see Neptune at 1 degree Aquarius being visited by Pluto. Good old Pluto in Aquarius. Then we have the South Node conjunct, or their South Node in Aquarius conjunct Ceres today loosely. But more importantly, Uranus is conjunct their South Node, and that to me seems as though Venus will be making an impact since Venus is on the other side of that in the 12th house. So should be interesting to see the team's sudden changes. I do feel as though this is going to be more injury prone for the Texans than it is for the Chiefs. So that will be interesting, but I can't say too much, seeing how the Chiefs have the Aquarius placements as well. So I will be interested to see how that plays out. Since the Texans do not have anything in the 12th house, we can kind of wrap that up and go into the Chiefs. Look at us. It's an hour in, and I'm already through 2 whole charts. And I just talked about myself a lot at the beginning, so whatever. You're welcome. The Texans are obviously going to have a pretty powerful display with their, you can see back here, we were like talking about how 9th house is the travel team going into the Chiefs. The 4th house is kind of empty for them. So I don't really know the energy besides looking at that 6th house. It's going to be jam-packed today physically. Looking at the 1st house, it being intercepted for the game, we see the Chiefs, Jupiter in Aries there, and the that loosely conjuncting the North Node as well as Chiron in the 1st house, and then we see Venus in Taurus for the Chiefs right at the end of that 1st house. That to me shows that they're going to be loudly wanting to stand up and show that they have this under wraps. They have this handled. They want to show up and show out loud and early. I mean, this team is begging for a really early lead. This team is begging for a chance to rest its starters. This team needs as much physical protection as humanly possible. So I do think it will be advantageous for the Chiefs to make a big splash in the beginning and just say, hey, we're at home. We got this covered. We can handle this before we head off again in the torture chamber known as the NFL schedule for the Chiefs. Just with injuries, it's so hard to travel and maintain health. So this will be really crucial for the Chiefs to get back on track. So looking at the pace of the game and seeing their Mercury and Moon and Sun all there, they're once again going to have to be careful with their feet, their emotions, and their pride and ego getting in the way of anything today, with Uranus there in the 2nd house being kind of like the back and forth and the one that jumps all over the place for the Chiefs and the Texans both, because it's the game Uranus. But for the Chiefs, that is where you can kind of see they will be back and forth emotionally. They will mentally might be all over the table. Their communication could be hot and cold, but they're really going to have to master that today to control the pace of the game. All right. So, that being said, going into the third house where Jupiter is retrograde and the third house being ruled by Mercury, which is in Sagittarius, opposite of Jupiter retrograde, I do feel as though things will be not as easy for the Chiefs just because, that is loosely, loosely squaring their Chiron, and it's just a little bit like, okay, not loosely, it's exactly squaring, excuse me. And that is also being visited by Saturn today. So the moon opposite their Chiron and opposite Saturn, as well as squaring Jupiter, and then that little Sagittarius, Mercury, and part of Fortune in the ninth house, making that a big, grand, immutable cross. It's going to feel very fated today. So I hope the Chiefs are able to use that in a positive way instead of feeling the squeeze like the Detroit Lions did. And they have, I think, the highest amount of players on IR now. So their Super Bowl dreams are what you would call a little bit dashed, and they're just trying to do their best. The Chiefs going on back-to-back Super Bowls and trying for a three-peat is no easy task. And I think making history is what these guys are known for doing. So this game, it makes sense to rest if you can, but still prevail and still dominate, because that's what needs to be done to win games. And unfortunately, they haven't been doing a lot of that early on. They end up dominating, or there ends up being what people call te voodoo magic with the Chiefs. If you haven't been a Chiefs fan, you don't understand that this is how we've always just had shit happen, even ridiculously comical that it didn't work out, and now we're having the ridiculously comical that we do win games the way that we do. So it can be a little bit confusing to be like, wait a second, I thought that wasn't going to work out, and then all of a sudden we win a game, and I'm like, okay, I have to completely revise what I was just tweeting up. I conceded, and I knew that we weren't going to have the victory, and I just gave up. But that was kind of the whole point of seeing where the Chiefs can really go, and kind of revising my method as well, because I really feel as though this practice and me being able to kind of I don't know, track and see how the Chiefs are going to be able to do it. In my mind, I'm learning and growing. I could just be going in circles, who knows? But it's really important to see how I can shape this process and help people learn in the same time. So it's been fun. Anyways, going into the fourth house, which is for the home team, obviously would be representing the Chiefs. We are going to see that being ruled by Mercury. We talked about that forming that grand mutable cross and making an intense game. And it's loose with the sun or with the moon. That being 9 degrees off is not going to feel exact, but it's definitely making an impact. So it'll definitely seem like today's winning strategy or ability for the home team to win will come from a mercurial place. So there's that. I think that there's also a little bit of what I have been seeing on the Chiefs side, with injuries and everything else. I feel as though I keep saying that it happens, it goes back and forth, it's whatever, it's it's I don't know what this is. It's like a Chiefs protection spell. All the Chiefs of past have banded together to where we don't actually have all the injuries happening in the world, but yet they bounce back and show back up as things that were just minor. Who knows? It's just been insane to watch. Someone will get hurt and then they're back. I am still mind blown that Isaiah Pacheco is back for the Chiefs. Speaking of which, he's going to be big today just because of that 10 degree part of fortune in the ninth house. Anyways, but it's been really cool to see this process unfold, and I have been really honored to see how this is compared to the chart that I'll be using for, the Super Bowl thing, as well as the game ahead. I still have that chart and I'll pull it up, of course, but it's being able to see the difference between a team that you've been following, like with a method that you're like, yeah, I think this works, and then one that you're like, holy shit, I think this is it. It's just really exciting. So I'll get back to focusing on the game chart. But that sixth house ruled by the sun is going to once again be all about bone, knees, skin, joints, and all of that. So those things are going to be very prominent for the Chiefs today. So with their Mars in the sixth house, as well as Uranus, that is the sudden change and surprise placement, and then Ceres, which is all about nurture, and then Pluto, which is all about transformation and the death planet as well. It's not like death and rebirth isn't something that we talk about in astrology all the time, but the transformational, the underworld, that's very much Pluto. So yes, there will be a chance of the game being more physical for the Chiefs and maybe a little bit strained physically, but Patrick Mahomes' son is in the seventh house, not the sixth house. And that's exciting because a sixth house transiting sun versus a seventh house one is a huge difference. So just ask anyone you know that has felt that. You've experienced it too. You just might not know it. But I can tell when the sun gets out of my sixth house almost instantly. It's like, okay, I feel comfortable again. But today's game being ruled by Jupiter in that third house is still going to rely so much on communication, which also the moon is in Virgo, and Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So it still is about communication. And with that, Mercury being in Sagittarius, making sure your words make sense to other people and you're not just speaking your own language is very important here. Going into the Mercury ruled seventh house, the Chiefs do not have anything here. This is also intercepted. So placements here can kind of feel slow or trapped or not as bountiful as usual. There is Neptune in the eighth house, which is ruled by Mars for the Chiefs. And they have Neptune in Scorpio, which is also going to be a Mars ruled sign. And for them, Mars is in Leo in that 24 degree of a man so caught up in the spiritual that he loses sight of his physical body. That's the exact degree and karmic degree of that. But it's all about having that physical balance and using those bursts for good and knowing when to actually manage that and like have that work in your favor. Going on into the ninth house, which is empty for the Chiefs, 10th house, which is empty for the Chiefs. They have their South Node in Capricorn in the 11th house. So definitely feel as though the flow of the game and the cooperation is going to feel comfortable for the Chiefs. They are going to feel as though this is very much familiar territory for them. Getting into Saturn and Chiron in the 12th house, I do think kicking is once again going to be on the table today. Whether it's good or bad, whether it's, for the win of the game or just for the extra points, if we see the doinks, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm just going to put it out there. Having a Jupiter retrograde ruled chart in Gemini and then having a Jupiter ruled Saturn as well as a Jupiter ruled Chiron, and that being in Gemini, it's a trickster. It's very much a trickster. And for the Chiefs, this could be a tricky game just because they're tired and that could get them in the end. So let's look at the tri-wheel. I did not write down any numbers. I'm going to do this completely off the top of my head because I'm incredible like that. Today, the game is going to be kicking off at noon. So we have the numbers to watch for the game will be 0 degrees in honor of the 0 degree sun in Capricorn today. And then we're going to go over to 8 actually is going to be, it'll be 0, 8, 10. Let's do, I wanted to one of like the teen numbers, but I'm trying to pick one. For the game today, maybe 17. 17 could be a number that is big today. And then we have, because the moon's at 17 degrees. Let's do 23 for the next number. 23 and 32, I think are going to be big today. Yes. And then let's do one more, like in the 30s, which now I have to do math. So just give me a moment. Let's do maybe 34. Yeah, let's do 34. And then I'm going to throw out a 45 and 71. And let's do 93. Signs to look for: Pisces, Capricorn, Leo, Gemini, Sagittarius, Aquarius. I'm here for that. And I do believe the Chiefs will be winning today. I think they're going to be winning by 6 points, and it should be an interesting game. Like I said, I believe that the Texans will have more of the injuries. There's going to be a focus on calves, circulatory system, and just making sure that your ankles are also okay. The theme for the Chiefs and like the pace of the game, I feel like the Chiefs could be very much trying to get back to where they were and make a big statement at the beginning of the game and kind of like get outright and ahead of the back and forth that they have put fans and themselves through. Like, if you think fans are having a hard time, you should definitely check out the fact that the players are having a hard time, and the rest, the recovery, the nurture is going to be huge today. It's just very, very important that we see the teams both slow down and take their time, communicate well. Hands and play calling, being super creative, is going to be what gets people as an advantage, gives people an advantage. There we go. The Chiefs having their Mars natally in Leo, I feel like will be a little bit of a boost in that 6th house and will help them get through. Whereas the Texans have their Venus in Leo in that 6th house at the come save me degree of 29 degrees Leo, the mermaid waiting on a rocky shore for her Prince Charming to come save her. So I definitely feel as though the moon being in Virgo and that being the lunar return for the Texans is going to be somewhat beneficial. It's going to help keep them going, give them a little bit of motivation and drive. Virgo and mercurial energy is very driven by different things, and with their Mercury being in Scorpio, it's driven by spite and revenge sometimes. So, they're definitely out to win this game, and the Chiefs need to be on their toes. So let me see if I have any extras. No, I don't. So this is going to be where we end, mostly because the game is coming up soon, and I am looking forward to my break. If you guys missed it already, I have published a magazine. There it is. I wish my hands could work, and I'm not Vanna White. We'll put it that way. I have published my magazine with the seasons. Once again, this is the 4th magazine that is once again free on my website, northernastrology.com. And it is available to teach you about Capricorn energy, thanks to a good friend of mine, Susan, who was like, hey, thanks for sending me my chart report. Now, can you tell me more about Capricorn? And I'm like, I got you. So I really expanded on Capricorn energy, where that starts in your chart. We have a guide to Nordic runes with some really cool information from Nova Luna from Twitter, and then the aspect cycle and the hero's journey from Robin, aka Astral Hermit, on Twitter. And then we have Living with Nature from me, and we have a feature of Lady Daemonic called Hypnotic Femininity. And I'm so excited about this because Mariah, our incredible writer and our Gnostic goddess guru, has been incredible about spotlighting people and really showing people off, and especially women that are daring to be different in the spiritual world. So we are featuring the Hypnotic Femininity of Lady Daemonic, which you can find in the very end of the Northern magazine. What a way to wrap up the very final issue of the Northern of 2024. I took a chance on myself this year. I started a publishing house because I could. This will be where I have to have this edited out if I turn this into a highlight reel. Don't mind me putting on lip gloss because I'm like, my lips look dry. I took a chance on myself this year. I said in March 2024, like, my guidebook, my Astrology 101 guidebook went so well that I'm like, I want to offer more free resources. And I have so much information in my head every single day. I just want to be able to gradually port it or put it out into the world and have it like funneled into this creative project. So I did that with the Northern magazine, and now I have brought other voices of all backgrounds and walks of life into this magazine to be featured, as well as paid writers. These people are paid. Nothing happens for free. I want people to value themselves, their time, their energy for anything that they create. And when you create an article, especially these articles that found in here that are all about, very mystic things and very big brained concepts, it's like you have to be daring enough to want to create something outside of the box. And I think it's great that people are willing to take a risk on themselves this day and age. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad that my announcement is now out there, that I have teamed up with a few incredible astrologers that I have met through the social media landscape, and we are bringing you the Astrology of 2025, a 250 plus page book of visual walks through, the astrology cycles of 2025, as well as workbooks, moon rituals, deep dives into each and every new moon, full moon, eclipse of 2025. And, I work in abstract concepts. I work in Sabian symbols and degrees, and these things are not the most rational type of practices when it comes to analyzing, life, or, in my case, this sports stuff that I do. It's like, what are you doing? What language are you speaking? What are you trying to like merge together? But astrology teaches you how to have an introspective look at yourself, and as well as the world around you, and really live in timing with nature. And that's what I started off this show talking about, is that humans are the only people that don't adhere to seasons. I will be taking time off for the following couple weeks. I will be back after January 1st, one with my new book, and that is a collaboration with Alessia from Light Through Spirit, Amanda, aka Sophia Nova on Twitter, as well as Jamal, Young Desperado on Twitter. And we have the whole thing, and you can meet all the astrologers behind it through this magazine. You can go to the Northern Mag on Twitter. It's at the Northern Mag, or you can go to the northernastrology.com and go to the library. It'll say library and resources, and then you can see all the magazines that I have available. So there's that. But I'm really looking forward to what I have in store for 2025. I'm looking forward to not repeating myself. No one will have to ask me what's happening in 2025, what's going on right now. I'll be like, did you get my book? Cool. That's what's going on right now. And if you need help going through it, I'm going to be offering a one-on-one session available where I will walk you through how to use this book. I will be doing videos, how to do that as well. So if you don't want to watch a video and you're just like, I want to pay you to help me do this, I got you. The book itself is a labor of love. The magazine that I've created is a labor of love. The publishing of house that I created is a labor of love. Everything that I do is so personal and intrinsically connected to me and the things that I want to share. So I'm just grateful that each and every one of you have taken time out of your day, out of your life, out of your precious time on this earth to spend it with me, listening to me rattle on about the stars. And once this live stream is done, you can go back and hear my predictions, but I do have the Chiefs winning by 6 today. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all back in January when I finally have the energy. I will be posting the games in written form on Twitter. I will try to remember to post them on Instagram. Soon I'll just have a place on my website that I'll be like, here's all my sports predictions and sports hub and like everything you need to know about me and my sports astrology. But that is all happening in the background. Thank you to Anusha of Creative Bizarre and helping me, get into an actual rebranding of sorts and actually embrace all parts of me and really incorporate that into a website that reflects who I am at this very moment in this stage of my life. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for the team that has helped put together this book that has been working countless hours, and we've been scheduling and structuring and organizing and planning, and now it's finally here. and it's winter solstice, and we are bursting into the space with being able to share more about the cosmos. Because if you don't think that the things in the sky have any impact on you, look at the sun. It gives life to everything on this planet. Look at the moon, controls the tides. And if you don't think that you, being made out of 73% water, your brain at least, that doesn't affect you, okay. One of the listeners on YouTube, Dycliffe, said, speaking of sunlight, I purchased a small UVA UVB light, aka reptile light, and I'm going to use it sparingly for vitamin D. Most commercial tanning beds don't have enough UVB for our skin to absorb vitamin D. Yes. Get as much sunlight, vitamin D. That's very much the Capricorn season motto. Bone broth is great for you around this time. Soups, anything that can keep you warm from the inside out and fill your heart and stomach with joy. It's very much the Capricorn way. Opposite of Capricorn, which is the 10th house, is Cancer, which rules the stomach and, is all about nurture. So if you can do anything to yourself this year for the holiday season, do not break your back trying to please everyone. You cannot get to every gathering. It's okay. Take some time for you, because rest and recovery is important this time of year. And it is also important to live with nature as much as possible. So I'm done lecturing. This is the last time you'll see me in 2024, at least the calendar year. The energies of 24 continue on into the new year until March 2025, when Aries season begins and the true new year commences. So just to keep that in mind, while the North Node at 0 degrees Aries and the South Node at 0 degrees Libra does offer us a fresh start on January 1st, there is still plenty of time to recover and prepare for the year ahead. So my name is Gracey with Northern Astrology, and if you like what you've seen here today on this live stream, feel free to give me a follow or subscribe to my YouTube channel, which you might already be watching this anyways, but it is important to shout out all the things and share all the things so I can continue helping as many people as possible. So check out this ending scene with my updated magazine cover, and I will see you guys next year. Ha, that's terrible.